Hey, good evening, everybody. What's going on? What a big day. This is a very serious, very interesting day right now. And again, I have to semi-apologize for the lighting here. I'm still fixing my lighting. My ring light went out, and I'm waiting to get another one. But we have decent lighting tonight. And what a big day. This is we are here. Election. Oh, my daughter put it on this side. Let's put it on this side here. The I voted sticker. There we go. Election 2022. We've got the Freedom shirt on that we're rocking right now. I'm looking forward to taking your comments. We're live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on LinkedIn. And this is a huge election. Now, a lot of times people talk about that. In my opinion, I've been talking about this for years. Definitely previewed it not that long ago, right before I think the Twitter deal, or maybe just after the Twitter deal closed with Elon Musk. And I talked about that video about everything's about to change, in my opinion. Tonight, we look at what happens with the midterms and where they're at. We're about 7:45 right here, East Coast time in the USA. And we're going to see some polls close, and we're going to see some races, maybe some reactions, some results, and we're going to chop it up. Looking forward to taking your comments. I need to sort of keep my socials open here. So give me a second to do that, to try to monitor some of the reactions, because some will show up in my chat stream here. The YouTube ones will. The LinkedIn ones may or may not. So I'm kind of trying to have my socials open here. So give me a second to do that. But we're going to break down where we're at, react to it. How big of a night will it be for either side, what each race looks like, why. I'll dig into it. We'll do the analysis. So this is the night definitely for politics. We definitely welcome everyone's comments, and we'll spin it to what it may have, so for the LinkedIn audience, what this might mean for the economy, what this might mean for perhaps even the job market, what this might mean for different sectors, in my opinion. Again, everything you do is at your own risk. We're not giving anybody advice. Please check all the disclaimers. Everything we're saying is all for personal opinion, only, not alleging any facts or casting any aspersions. May be joined later by PFV. Paul, we may be joined by him. We'll see. And definitely, again, as we said, we'll take your comments. I'm just opening my socials right here so that we can try to monitor any of the comments that may be exclusive to either Facebook or LinkedIn. The YouTube ones will post through, as I said, right there again. So I'm just doing this real quick, and we're going to start really getting into exactly what's going on in the news of it. Okay, we've got something right here. Michael T. Brown. Hey, Michael, what's good? Do you think Fetterman should have stepped down, or should they have got a replacement? Wow. I mean, starting off hot. Woo. That is a huge question. So I know I don't want to Michael's a great guy. Absolutely. He is someone that I know in the professional life, in my opinion. Venture capitalist. I don't know if people want me to. I assume if you're here and you're commenting that it's okay, let me know. Text me or whatever if you want to be a little bit more anonymous. That's I think everybody's got to make their own call. I think that listen, life happens to everybody. What do I want to say about this? That's a hot one. I think life happens to everybody. We wish him, first of all, on a personal level, we wish him and his family all the best. We wish him a speedy recovery, and we hope that we wish the best for everybody. I mean, I will say, people know where I'm coming from. I think, I don't think that's a huge secret. I'm conservative, almost libertarian. That's where I'm coming from. A lot of my family are liberals. My dad was a big time Democrat, in my opinion. Although I would say a conservative Democrat, definitely. Maybe. It's hard to really. That's a whole nother conversation. I would say he would. I mean, in some ways, he could be seen as in a lot of ways, I think a very moderate Republican, but certainly a Democrat. I'm not trying to. Definitely, in my opinion, I believe voter Democrats was up in Clinton Democrat was up for administration position as some kind of undersecretary or something. I don't know the exact. I'm just going on recollection. Was supposed to be under Henry Cisneros potentially, obviously, he hadn't gone through the process, but there was discussion on that in Clinton's cabinet. And my brother, Joseph, I think was under or I don't know what the exact current status is right now. For a HUD position in the Biden administration. So a lot of liberals in my family. Obviously went to school at Berkeley, went to school at Johns Hopkins. And so I've been around, academia and half my family Ivy League. So I've been around a lot of in Silicon Valley, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of liberals, Austin, et cetera. I love everybody, right? And this is a cool place where everybody can talk. And keep it respectful, keep it professional. But I want to chop it up. But we're all people, and so to me, it's not politics. Shouldn't be personal. And we wish the best for Fetterman, and we wish the best for his family. We got 10 minutes till the polls close here. I'm not a doctor. I can't. My wife's a physician from Israel. I'm not a doctor. I didn't examine him. I have no idea. We're not giving medical advice or any kind of other advice here live. I can't tell you. What the prognosis is, what his condition is. I don't know. I'm not John Fetterman. I don't know how he feels. I have no idea. Right. So on the one hand, if you're going through this whole process and you're gearing up, you're a lieutenant governor, and here you go. And it's looking like, you've got a good potential to win. And then, you have a health situation that happens. I think we had a sitting senator that had a stroke recently. I think, if I remember correctly. I work so much. I get deep into it. So, who knows but the candidate? Who knows but their doctors? Now, there's so many different sides to this. I mean, I could take just an hour on this, right? I mean, there's so many different sides to this. I think when you're in that spot, it's almost like great athletes, right? I can analogize it to great athletes, whether in contact sports, whether it's, wrestling or boxing or MMA or NFL or a lot of different things. I mean, sometimes as that athlete, you don't know, you need a coach, you need a corner person, you don't know when to quit. So maybe if you really have been gearing up for this, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's going to get better. Maybe he's fine. I don't, maybe it's just simply some of the things that people have been talking about. Maybe it's just simply a matter of speaking, but he's totally, I have no idea. Right. I just know what I saw in the debate performance. Now, of course, I want to, I would like to see Dr. Oz win, Mehmet, in full disclosure there, but I saw a performance as objectively as I can be with all of our own bias. I think that Dr. Oz really did much, much better than Fetterman did in that debate. So I think there's a question for the candidate, number one. There's a question for the family collectively, number two. There's also a question for the party. There were some people like, oh, there was, it was campaign malpractice or something like that to let him debate. I mean, are you crazy? Like, how do you have a Senate race, a congressional race? Any campaign, you have to have a debate. You have to have a discussion. You have to have the candidates, face questions from the voters, face the opposition. I mean, that's just part of the process. And, listen, I used to be a great athlete. I mean, I can't do a lot of the things I used to do before. That's just where it is. So, the question itself, Mike, you really start off. I mean, and that's the other thing, right? Who's to tell him to not run? There's so many different angles to that. But we're going to listen. Here's what's beautiful about tonight. We're going to find out what the voters of Pennsylvania have to say about that. So that is a lot of people have been saying that, it's not all about the process. Is candidates get to put their name out there, and if they're eligible to run, they get to run. Right. So I don't like the idea that a party is going to, or someone's going to push them out. I don't like the idea that it's all about winning. I don't like that. I think it's a very complicated issue. I think it's a very complicated question. We wish the best for his family. We wish the best, for his health. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what the voters say. We're going to find out what the voters say. That's the beautiful thing of this. So looking at where where we are at right now, we're going to try to monitor this in real time. A lot of this is going to spin forward. We may not know everything tonight. I'm going to go as long as I reasonably can. It's an interesting night. I was actually, it's actually my birthday, so it's interesting. You know, maybe that's why I'm somewhat inclined for politics. Who knows, right? But yeah, I mean, I heard that the turnout is very, very strong out there. I hear there's extremely strong turnout. That's really, really interesting. It looks like, oh, here we go. Fox News is calling Governor Mike DeWine win a second term. There we go. Rubio, Florida, 68% in. Rubio is way up on Demings by a tremendous amount. So that's very, very interesting there. Let's just look at where we're at Senate. Walker and Warnock is getting closer. Warnock with the early lead right now, 57.6, 20% in. Hassan is up early on Bolduc in New Hampshire. Florida, Rubio, tremendous advantage right there for Rubio right now. So we're seeing that. Now let's see where we're at here. Let's see. Okay. The House, I think the House is I'm very confident that we're going to see Republicans win the House. The Senate thing, I don't know. It just depends on how strong this breaks. It depends on how much of a quote unquote wave there is. I do believe, I said it before, I think we see plus 30 to 50 seats for the Republicans. I'm willing to say 35 plus House seats for Republicans. I think we're going to see 52 to 54. I may even say 53 seats for the Republicans plus on the Senate. I don't want to get too strong. I think a lot of these things we're going to find out. I think it's going to be a very interesting night. I think it's going to be a long night. I think the governorship is going to be very interesting as well. So there's a lot of things that are happening right now on these. A lot of these races are going to be very, very close. That's why it's very hard to, have a very super accurate prediction, because it just depends. How strong is turnout? What happened with the early voting? A lot of these debates happened after some early voting was out there. Who shows up? I mean, midterms are usually about turnout. So there's so many things here that, you have to factor in, and that can really move the race one way or the other. Let's check out where we're at here. I mean, I'm trying to see things in real time as much as I can here. Yeah, I mean, Rubio, basically the race has already been called for Rubio. I agree with that. I like Rubio in that race. So that's a GOP has kept that. Senator Rubio looks like he's keeping his seat. Warnock versus Walker, that's tightening up. 56 Warnock versus 42 Walker, 29% in. North Carolina, it looks like the Democrats doing pretty well there. 55 Beasley, 43 Budd. Fetterman odds, we do not have information yet. Early time right now in New Hampshire. Hard to know there. House. Let's see here. There's a lot. Again, this is super early on. DeSantis, totally 15 point spread there. DeSantis over Chris. It's not even close. Listen, the big story, so many things that I've been saying, okay, politically have come to pass. What did I say? Well, a lot. I said the Republicans are going to win big. I think everything's going to be changing, very soon. I think we're seeing that. Look at the shift within a week. Look at the shift. You're seeing tech layoffs. You're seeing inflation. You're seeing changes in media and social media. Elon is totally changing what's going on there on Twitter, and you're about to see the balance of power shift here in the U.S. Congress and and also in some state houses, I believe. But I also said that the center of gravity in the Republican Party is firmly with, and then again, Well, I'm trying to do analysis here. So this isn't about, this is trying to do analysis. I'm just trying to tell it to you straight. If you followed my videos, I have been, in my opinion, very, very accurate for years now in predicting. There are so many people, oh, Mayor Suarez is the future and he's going to do that. We'll see. That looks like a very long shot now. He's going to do what for president? He's going to beat who? DeSantis? Because there was Suarez versus DeSantis kind of on the deal. Suarez versus Trump kind of on the deal. I mean, there's a different brand of a Miami brand of Republicanism. No, there's not. I mean, maybe, but not like effectively. In fact, what you're seeing is DeSantis may be winning Miami-Dade. So there was heat between DeSantis and heat between Suarez. There was heat between Suarez and Trump. And, the thing is, what Elon has said and what the voters are saying, in my opinion, what they're going to say is, hey, this whole, and again, I'm taking it away from Suarez. I'm just talking generally. I'm talking hypothetically. This idea of the country club Republican that's just going to sell out to big tech or big business at the expense of their voters, like that's done. You're seeing a big realignment. Laura Ingraham was talking about, a lot of people have talked about this, right? I've talked about this, right? I've talked about this on my show in Miami, my radio show and stuff. I've talked about this on air here. I've talked about this with you. Politically, it is not viable to not have some relationship and connection with the people, right? And so we throw these names around, populists, and but at the fundamental level, and you're talking to someone that studied political science major at Berkeley, been in politics for a long time, ran campaigns, right? A lot of read from Berkeley, on air, talk radio. I mean, I've had a lot of experience with this, and I've been very accurate and very effective in my opinion. And I haven't done anything in politics for a while because it's been, in my opinion, a little too crazy, a little too hyper partisanship. I think you're going to see that tamp down. What we've seen is we've seen a lot of things that were put in practice that were talked about years ago that hurt in Berkeley, that are academic circles. I mean, okay, I'm saying a lot of things too fast. Let me slow it down. A couple key principles. You have to represent the people. If you are representing only whatever percentage, big business interests with special interests, 0.1%, 1%, 5%, 10%, whatever it is, and you're pushing policies on 50%, 80%, 70%, whatever, a majority of people that don't like it. And now you're, saying, hey, you know what, we're going to, teach this. You're talking about things in schools. You're talking about kids, where you can travel, if you can work. I mean, there was no escape for so long when I've talked to people about politics and how important it is. Oh, yeah, but I want to watch a football game. Oh, yeah, but I'm going on vacation. Oh, yeah, but I don't want to get involved. I mean, I know people that are pretty political and maybe they've got a lot of money and I see them on LinkedIn. Hey, I don't talk politics or whatever. But I mean, so it was that kind of thing. Like, my work life was my work life, my political life was my political life. But the problem of it is now is politics has infected everything. No one cannot care anymore. That's kind of where we're at, right? That's why this election is so important, so impactful right now. That's why we're all like engaged in this. Like, what's going to happen? Which way are we going to go? And there's different models out there in the world about, whether it's the I'm getting text here. I'm doing stuff. Whether it's what we see out of China, what we see in UK, Israel, here, Canada. I mean, so there's different. So, how do we want to be represented? But again, at the core level, the government, in my opinion, to be sustainable and legitimate, has to represent the will of the people. It's fine to representative government. We can have. I don't want to get into a deep theory of I can do that. I mean, I can't do it very quickly. It's hard to do it very quickly and succinctly. I haven't really prepped the show and wrote it all out. I mean, we were celebrating my birthday and I'm like, oh, I want to take a nap. Like, oh man, it's almost time for. I mean, I got to go in there. We got to talk about it. So I don't have it prepped up. But basically, the power flows from the people. in a representative democracy, a republic, a democracy, right? It flows from the people. We elect our representatives to represent us, right? And if at some point, if the greater good of that population is not being represented, that's going to cause political issues. That's going to cause all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, that's just common sense. And so I think what happened with the Democratic Party, and of course, midterm elections, there's certain trend lines and all that. That's fine. But what's happened with the Democratic Party is it's become very elitist. And you're seeing, and that was a problem that I saw with the whole thing. If the Miami tech movement and as far as the political thing is you're playing right into the elitism, right? I mean, the VCs and the tech and some people were saying it's not, how can I help it? This is, again, I'm not alleging anything. It's what do you bring? And listen, I mean, on the one hand, I have really mixed feelings on that whole thing. There's two different things. One is that movement and tech movement and effectiveness. I love the sizzle, and there was a moving of the ball there, and there was some effectiveness. Now, some of that is just catching the wave and just, the parade's already moving and you're just getting to the front of the line and holding a banner, and some, in my opinion. And some of that is effective marketing. And there were some good things. And I went to some events and, the job fair, there were some really good things. I'm not in any stretch denigrating that aspect of it. But then if you look at the political, but there were political consequences to some of that heavy presence on tech, and I would just tech no matter what, and in my opinion, and VCs. And we've seen with Twitter, look at some of the things that have come out about Twitter. Look at some of the revelations about that. And DeSantis and Trump and different things like that. There are other consequences here. And DeSantis has spoken about that. And on the Republican side for 2024, it's only going to be Trump or DeSantis, in my opinion, period. I mean, that's it. And really it's Trump. And as Megyn Kelly herself said to Dave Rubin, like, there's no chance. DeSantis doesn't have a chance against Trump. I don't know that I'm 100%. I see that. I see there's a possible lane. I think Trump is the predominant favorite. I mean, tremendous favorite. But we don't know. We don't know. Let's see if we're about to get some results here. We're getting some results right now. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, Republicans by Real Clear Politics have already picked up projected to pick up 2 seats in the House. All right, so we're seeing that right now. We're seeing the movement right now. Wow, oh my goodness. This governor race, DeSantis even bigger, 72%, 57.7 to Charlie Crist, 41.6. That is a just ridiculous blowout in a state that was supposed to, props to DeSantis and his campaign team and everyone over there, in a state that's supposed to be a purple state that is becoming ever more red. And this is what I'm trying to talk about. I am not trying to punk out Mayor Suarez. Okay. What I am trying to do is clearly illustrate the political realities and people that I talk to that are so smart, that have all these degrees, way more money than me, in my opinion, should have known better. In wrestling parlance, there's the wrestlers, there's the people, the audience that are fooled, that go along with it. They call them the marks. And then there's some people that think they're smart and are still kind of fooled. They're smart, the smart marks, the smarks, right? And there's a lot of smart marks in politics, in my opinion. Like, you think but you're still being kind of played a little bit, and or you're fooling yourself. You're living the gimmick, if you will. I'm using a lot of wrestling, parlance here. And what do I mean by that? There were people that were heavily on for Suarez, or the same people that were heavily for Nikki Haley, or et cetera, et cetera. And on the Democrat side, maybe we're for Beto or something like that. That felt like you could go and, Beto O'Rourke is Robert. Right? I mean, it's like the dude is. I mean, the whole thing. Beto, I mean, someone said it on the air recently. Like I think it's Ben Domenech. It's a good quote. It was a good analysis. Like I think the Democrats over different elections, spent $200 million on Beto O'Rourke. He hasn't won anything recently, right? Because it just doesn't work. It's not authentic, right? And so the Mayor Suarez thing and the Nikki Haley thing, even to some extent, the Kristi Noem thing, Governor Noem, it's like it's kind of like, hey, we can still play this country club stuff. We can run our campaigns and say what we need to say to get elected, but we're gonna do the Chamber of Commerce thing. We're gonna do the Wall Street thing. We're gonna do the big tech thing. We're gonna whatever about the voters. And we see the same thing in Brexit. We see the same thing. We're seeing the same thing globally. This is a global movement. And so that brand of the Republican Party doesn't exist anymore. It's not there. It's there, but it's not there. And how do we know that? What happened to Liz Cheney, Congresswoman Cheney? She's gone. Well, she's there now, but I mean, she's got voted out. She will not be returning to Congress. And that you're talking about, Bush Cheney, you're talking about Wyoming, dynasty, in terms of a political dynasty. So you contrast that, and we had, like, I think Mayor Suarez was talking about the whole, I can't remember all of it. The lockdowns. It was criticizing President Trump on the pandemic stuff and et cetera, and just wasn't taking strong positions against tech and potentially punking out conservatives and wasn't there's a lot of missed opportunities. Instead of just saying, hey, hey, you could do tech over here, it's nice over here, and we're all for tech and VC and stuff like that. We're not going to worry about what if you're banning conservatives or if you're censoring or shadow banning people. We're not even going to talk about that or worry about that. And there was all the discussion of you could have had these same discussions about all the causes that they were promoting. It sounded like a Harvard faculty club. It sounded like a Berkeley faculty club. It sounded like Silicon Valley. So what's different other than the Miami Beach? And that's cool. I mean, that's nice. But I mean, it wasn't like you were offering something dramatically different at a time where the world was like, impacted. Contrast that to Governor DeSantis that was like, listen, Florida's free, Florida's open. We're not doing that. I mean, look at this. Look at the strong stance Governor DeSantis took against, just go on down the line. I don't want to get buried in every, little thing here. And I'm not saying, again, this is analysis. I'm not giving my opinion on stuff unless I actually give my opinion. I'm just doing the analysis and what has happened. Nobody tonight is talking about Mayor Suarez politically. Now, again, a lot of successes PR-wise, getting your name out there, and things have happened at the Miami tech scene. But I remember talking to people, smart people, VCs, tech people that kind of were like, and this is a couple years ago. And again, things can look a lot different back then, right? And people that thought they were really smart, maybe even smarter than me. That's dangerous thing. I'm a super genius. Okay. And it was kind of like, well, I could be cool with DeSantis and Suarez at the same time. And it's smart. The Suarez is where the cool people, it's almost like Suarez is where the cool kids are. And again, this inside, Wall Street, type of thing, moderate Republican VC type of thing. And it's like, no, those are two different things right there. And DeSantis has been dramatically rewarded by the voters, in my opinion, or, in terms of a vote of confidence. And no one's talking about Suarez. So again, it depends what your goal is. I think, listen, Suarez is one of the most famous, if not probably, maybe Mayor Adams. Definitely one of the most famous mayors out there. So he did tremendous amount to raise his name ID, move the needle in some of the tech stuff, but a lot of that stuff was coming anyway because of Dylan Aspera and others, Founders Fund. But politically, I think he's made a lot of just terrible moves, and is basically taking his, put himself in a position where he's not viable for 2024. Now, I don't know if he could have been viable for 2024, but absolutely not viable for 2024, in my opinion, because of the stance. Whereas DeSantis is a champion and a hero of the Republican Party tonight, and a huge winner of the of tonight's election. There is no way to spin it. There's no way for the media to spin it. You had the entire media apparatus of the liberal media, if you will, or whatever, that were going after DeSantis after Trump left office. And if you look at this result, right now, 76% in, 56 to 42. I mean, it is a wipeout. It's not even remotely close in any shape or form. And a state that's supposed to be purple. And it's not like Chris is a candidate with no name ID. Charlie Crist, former senator. He's held all kinds of offices in Florida. I mean, he's got tremendous name ID. So, you're talking about a strong candidate, a serious candidate. Excuse me. I'm looking at another right here. No, that's right. Yeah. And then Rubio versus Demings. Same thing. Excuse me. I saw the wrong thing. Rubio 56, Demings 42. That's a blowout. That was a race people, it's getting close. Not even remotely close. Congratulations to Senator Rubio. But I mean, that shows you where this state is. That shows you where the energy and the gravitas of this state is. So I would say to Mayor Swartz, again, not giving any advice, but you've had people around you, brother, that thought maybe they were too cool for school. And a lot of these people, probably fairly liberal, the academics that, you're getting some bad advice, brother. If you want to be, do what you want to do, you got to follow your North Star, if you will, so to speak. But I mean, if you think politically, but if you that Nikki Haley lane, that's done, bro. That Jeb Bush lane, that's done. That's game over. I said it before, I'll say it again. You cannot be to the left to be nationally viable. You cannot be to the left of Senator Rubio. You can't and be nationally viable. You might win a race, you might win your state, but I'm talking about any kind of potential like presidential candidate type of deal, right? Or a leader of the party or anything like that. You cannot be to the left of Senator Rubio. But I don't think it's even a left-right thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not even a left-right thing. It's are you an elitist, or do you stand for freedom, opportunity, equality for everybody, for the average person, for the average voter? That's where it's at. Do you think that's what this election was about? Do you think, call it whatever, academic, ivory towers, Wall Street, VCs, do you think you know better and you're then going to impose that on other people? Or do you want people to think and act and succeed for themselves? Right? Now, at the same time, I think, I don't think it goes back to whatever. I think there's always progress. There's always something different. Things can, someone said this, I'm going to get the quote wrong, and I don't know who to cite, so I apologize for that. But it's not like, it's not that history repeats itself, but that it echoes or something. Like, I'm going to get, so if someone has that, please give me that quote. And I think that's right. I mean, listen, I think that we've all reflected a lot the last few years. We've all thought deeply about stuff personally. Like, how do I want to work? Do I want to climb this corporate ladder that maybe non-existent? Is a really good YouTube video by an engineer, and if I can find it, I'll try to cite it in there about how the corporate ladder is fake and stuff like that. Where do I want to live? Do I want to, is it worth it? Being in cold winters up north or whatever in a big city, or do I need maybe some beach and some sunshine? So, I mean, again, selling Miami Tech and South Florida and Florida, I think they did a very good job of that. I think we've evaluated a lot of things. I think that you can say, hey, we're all for individual freedom. We want Twitter. We want everybody to be able to speak and stuff. And you can also say that, listen, we want everybody to be respected, and we want, people to be tolerant, and we want everybody to be at the table. So I think there's important conversations of how do we include everyone. I don't think it's one or the other. It's like, how do we, not to say that it's all about being modern, independent, but how do we listen to each other? How do we have these conversations and stop being like this? This is silly. The hyper partisanship is silly. People are done with it. I think you're going to see massive turnout tonight. I think America is going to say, we want to get back to some kind of normalcy and here's what I mean by that. And I'm going to be very, hear me out on this. I don't want this taken out of context. We live under a constitution, right? And that means something. We have freedom. We have Bill of Rights, right? I mean, you do you, I'll do me, and we can work together. And that's the beauty of it, right? I mean, so I think we're going to see some of that. I'm getting a little bit abstract here. We're waiting for some results, but I mean, it's important to frame this. I cannot overstate how important this election is. And you always hear that, but my goodness, I really believe that this time. I believe this is a very, very important election. And, I think that the Democratic Party has to do some serious soul searching here, regardless of the results. The results may look, oh, we saw this in this year and that year, but it's more than that this time. It is an absolute realignment. The Democratic Party, I think, is going to have to make some changes and some corrections to be a viable party going forward. We're seeing Hispanics, again, just talking political analysis here, breaking significant percentages for the Republican Party. We're seeing that across different demographics. It's not so whatever coalition the Democrats thought they have, it's just not there. Someone said this, like it's the Democratic Party now is the ultra rich and the very, very poor. And that's just not politically viable long term. I mean, and again, it becomes these mandates and that, hey, we're just going to switch everything into green energy. Well, that's just not technically feasible to have a functioning economy doing that today. That may be where everybody or a lot of people want to go, but what's the plan to do it without inflicting like tremendous or even significant to even maximum pain potentially, right? And so, not a lot of people can't buy a Tesla yet. So listen, anything where, again, I go back to basic principles. You have to talk to people, you have to include people, you have to represent people. And now people were sort of, I think, pressured, shamed, whatever, into silence, but that's ending. You've got the richest person in the world that's saying, well, I'm all for free speech, who basically said we need a balanced government. And there's the old saying, right? Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. We've tried some of these ideas. We look at all the ideas, all the things that have been talked about in academia and ivory tower and stuff like that for so long on the Democrat side for so long. Green New Deal, right? All these different things have been talked about. The bureaucrats and that know better. All these things have been tried. And what happened? Tremendous failure. Doesn't mean these aren't great people. Doesn't mean they aren't smart people. But you have to, if you're going to take credit for the wins, you got to take blame for the losses. You got to own up to this hasn't worked. Or at least it hasn't worked for a significant amount of people out there. It's not just, the election cycle. It's like, no, this is a path of economic destruction and freedom destruction. And that's just not cool. And when people start getting concerned for their jobs, getting concerned, can I afford my medicine? Can I afford heating oil this winter? What's happening with my kids? Are they going to have a future? Like, dude, you can't get any more serious, right? In terms of issues for voters out there. It's super serious, right? So I think a lot of people came out thinking people are going to voice where they're at right now. Okay, so where are we at right now? Okay, so it's getting closer. So Georgia, 33% in. Warnock up significantly. Very interesting. Fetterman up huge early, very, very early. They're 4% in. New Hampshire, that race is maybe closing a little bit. It's still very early on that one. Let's see here. What are we talking about? Okay, Vance, early there, right there. Ryan's up there. We have to see how this breaks out. I'm going to have to I'm looking at a lot of different sites here. We got to break it down a little bit more. Things will be flowing in. Okay, so we've got, yeah, definitely Republicans are already picking up seats in the House. Look, it's DeSantis, big winner. Rubio, big winner. Florida, this is the early headline. It's not even close in Florida anymore. And this is what I want to try to say. Maybe I have a different perspective. Maybe I have a little bit more insight living in Florida. You look at the strong stance that Governor DeSantis has taken on so many issues, and the results. He's taken the arrows, dealt with the controversies, went strong into it. Some people say that Governor DeSantis is sort of a more sophisticated version of Trump or something like that. Certainly, clearly a MAGA candidate, in my opinion. I think the news media sees him as that in terms of these issues. And what has happened? Ridiculous win. You look how close that election was before with when he was facing Gillum, right? Let me look at that. Let me try to get those stats. Florida 2020 governor election. Let's see that. That was a close race. This race wasn't even remotely close. This race is not even remotely close. So you think about that. You think all the recent stuff's pulling up here. I got to dig into this and try to find out what. I mean, I remember that was a. Hold on a second. Let me see. Let's see here. Hold on a second. This race. Oh, here we go. Okay, so what do we have here? Let's see. This is that's this general. That's okay, but this is all presidential stuff. That's not helping me. I don't need that. I want to see. I know that was a close race. I got to dig into this. I don't. Sometimes it's hard to do this real time on the air. And let's see here. That's presidential. But this race, if you think about what's happened here and how strong this is right now for DeSantis, you're talking probably about a 10 plus 13, different point swing. After DeSantis has taken on all these hard issues. I mean, you think about that. That's insane. What does that tell you? What that tells you is, this is a candidate that I know why. Duh, wrong year, John. Okay. That this is a candidate that is being rewarded by the voters, okay, for his actions, for his policies, where he stood. Yeah, here we go. DeSantis 49.6 to 49.2 for Andrew Gillum. I mean, versus tonight, it's crushing, just blew out Charlie Crist. It wasn't even close. It was called so quick. It's unbelievable. So think about that. Think about the implication. Think about the implications of that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That right there, and Senator Rubio, very close right there. It's not even close anymore. Florida is a red state, period. Because the people of Florida have seen the results of these policies. And I can't tell you how many people I see coming from New York, Connecticut, Illinois. They don't want any of that anymore. They're fleeing California. So, I mean, at a certain point, you're going to be held accountable for your policies. At a certain point, the policies catch up. It all sounds great. Like famous Prime Minister Thatcher, said, socialism is great until you run out of other people's money, right? So we're seeing all that play out right now. Wow. So, now they're saying Fox, too early to call, slow counting in Pennsylvania, unquote. That's their headline. So that's very, very interesting right there. Let's see here. All right, let's see. I've got to drill into this here. So let's try to see some governors. Where are we at? Okay. Interesting. Georgia governor race. Kemp is up 41% in, 50.2 to 49.3. That's pretty close. Excuse me. That's pretty close. Mastriano way behind in Pennsylvania, but that's early there. New York, I tell you right now, I think this Florida result and I think the New York result could be the biggest headlines of the night in terms of the temperature of where this country is. If Hochul loses New York, that is cataclysmic. That is seismic for the Democrats. And again, this isn't cheerleading for the Republican Party or anything like that. I mean, again, you know where I'm coming from, but this is a gut check. This is a soul searching, a reflection of where is this country right now? Where are we at? Where do we want to go? And I love it. I love it. Let's figure it out. Let's see what we're going to do. I mean, this is the people speaking. And I'm a super optimist. I'm an internal super optimist. And I love to hash it out. I love to talk about it. I always believe the future is going to be better. And I always believe that we're going to figure it out and it's all going to work out some way, somehow. And we learn from each other and we're going to figure it out. So let's see where we're at on these things. So I don't want to be like, it's like a football game and who's winning and losing. I mean, yeah, we're going to get into that, but I really want to just kind of like look at it at a higher level here. And I hope some of the people that were maybe almost smarmy over the last couple, again, smart marks, the smarts over the last few years, maybe, you get a little humble pie here. It's not about that, but it's about if you let me put it this way. This isn't quite for lack of a, if you put Governor DeSantis in charge of the Miami tech movement, where would that movement be? How meaningful would it be? How different would it be? It's no different than putting Elon Musk in charge of it. If Elon Musk was in, so forget about this. If Elon Musk was in charge of the Miami tech movement, what would that look like? And how you know about that is look at what he's done with Twitter. What Elon Musk is doing with Twitter is the way that Mayor Suarez could have approached the Miami tech movement, and it could have been a monster movement. But instead, the capital of capital or whatever, I think it's just going to end up being like another wannabe, not a wannabe. It's real. There's real stuff there. And it's just going to end up being another small to mid-sized tech hub, which is fine, unless it morphs into something different. Because I can tell you right here in Tampa Bay and St. Pete, Sarasota, there's way more energy overall in terms of that stuff. And I think the Miami thing was too heavy in crypto. I don't want to get distracted on that. There's a lot of good stuff going on down south too. And I respect everyone out there just trying to hustle. And I definitely respect the people. That's the thing. Is there a disconnect between the people that are trying to make it work and the leaders? And are we serving the people leaders? And I think they've done some great things. It's just, that's complicated. But what I'm saying is there was a unique opportunity. I've led up to this and I finally can lay it off. There was a unique opportunity to do an Elon Musk or DeSantis style tech hub that would have been totally different, significantly totally different. And I can't tell you how many tech people, VCs, iBankers, MBAs, etc., that are, moderate Republican to conservative libertarian that would have flocked to that. But you're already seeing it, and you're seeing it, but you're seeing it on the DL, but now you're seeing it in the election results because people are saying we want sanity. the world. I mean, listen, we've gone through all kinds of stuff, right? We want people. It's like, how do I say this? If you want to do dramatic things, at some point you got to bring people with you. You can't push them and force them and all that type. You got to bring people with you. You got to have a conversation. And my dad on the Democrat, I mean, he was very good at that. Probably even more diplomatic than I am. I don't know. Miss him, love you, Dad. But it's just, there's so many missed opportunities. But there's new opportunities that are going to open up. Right? It's never too late. It's never too late. We always can work together. And I think that's that's what I want. If this election does anything, I hope it's that each side stops trying to impose their will. Let's work together. It's not, and it's kind of, I don't think it's two sides. It's, to me, this is like, hey, how do we create a system where people have social mobility and economic mobility and freedom and opportunity and autonomy, right? So that's the hope of it. I mean, when you talk about DeFi, you talk about all kinds of different things and fintech and a lot of different stuff. I mean, that should be the promise of so much of these things. Telehealth, Zoom stuff, all that type of stuff. Okay, let's get back to the results. But I just want to lay that foundation because there's so much more going on here. That to really understand the impact of this, it's not just left, right, and who's winning. Wow. Okay, House races right now, real clear politics. Democrats down 4, Republicans up 4. Okay, governorships. It's looking good for Republicans. We should have some more polls in here soon. I mean, this is getting very, very interesting. I may call my brother and just get him online here. We'll see. We'll see if he wants to get in the mix here. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, 81% in, DeSantis 58.3, Chris 41. That is 17 points. I can't. That is so extreme. That is so extreme. And you know what the closing message was? Because I could see it because of the ads here. It was all about Chris with the lockdown type stuff. I mean, that was the messages that were going out there. Okay, breaking news here. What do we got? What do we got? Fox News. Hold on. I got to be able to get to this. Let's see here. But just the Florida situation is so impactful. I just can't even tell you. I really want to see. I mean, here we go. In 22 minutes, we've got New York closing, Colorado, Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, Louisiana, Kansas. So many things there. Oh my goodness. Illinois, Wamback, okay, Tammy, Duckworth, GOP. Okay, little things here and there. Okay, got it. Okay. That's a Senate. Interesting. Okay, let's look at House. I don't know what that is. That's okay. I mean, just this is crazy. Look, it's early. I think it's going to be a late night. I don't want to get over my skis. I think it's going to be a late night. Let me open up. Let's also take a look over here at Politico. I think it's going to be a late night. I don't want to call too much into this. Because, I mean, we'll see. And it'll be very interesting to see the aftermath of this. But I think so much is on the line right now. And I hate that all it's supposed to, but I mean, this is really okay. According to Politico right now, it's probably go to 538. Okay, so here we go. So this is so interesting right here. If you look at Rubio, if you look at this race here, I'm just looking at Florida, right? If you look at the map, you only have, this is on Politico right now, this is on their front page. You only have Demings winning in barely, I mean by 0.1% in Palm Beach County. In Broward County, big numbers for Demings over Rubio. In Miami, significant for Rubio. Orlando, Deming's up significantly there. Alachua County, Deming's up significantly there. Leon County, Deming's up tremendously there, percentage-wise, but the numbers are almost every other county in Florida, it's Rubio. I mean, wow. And then if you look, oh my God, you look at governor, then it's the same type of thing, except for DeSantis wins in Palm Beach by like 3 percentage points. I mean, you have, this state has spoken about this governor, the leadership, the team, and where it's at. I mean, it's just a huge deal. It's just such a huge deal. I can't even just tell you here. So that is a massive, massive thing. Okay. Governor in Georgia, 38% of vote in. Kemp is up 2.6%. That's pretty significant. About a 33,000 vote differential there. So that's pretty interesting there. They also reported that staff changes are coming to the White House. It's going to be if this is a blowout, let's spin this forward. If this is a blowout for the Democrats, what happened? You know, what is the reaction on the Democrats going to be with President Biden? What is the talk of 2024? Who announces? I mean, there's a significant issue with the Democrat bench. We've talked about that too. That's what I'm saying. Like, where's the viability? Like, this is this. There's so much I can say, but I've told you for so long now of what it is, and it's all coming to pass right now. This is such an interesting night. It's all coming to pass right now. I have laid this out, and you go back, look at the videos after video after video, and I had people looking at me like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I didn't know what I was talking about or whatever. And I'm not saying, listen, I'm right, I'm wrong. I mean, I'm pretty darn right about a lot of stuff, and certainly political stuff. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not about me. It's about this race. But I mean, what I'm saying, it's not about me. It's about it. To me, yes, it can get very technical, and there's a lot. But I mean, a lot of this is common sense. It's just common sense. It's just common sense. If you're not talking to a wide, diverse array of voters and geographies and different people, if you're not in touch with them, you don't understand, or you dismiss or laugh at or punk out or whatever their concerns are. I don't think that's a good winning strategy politically. Okay, let's see where we're at here. We're pretty close to some other things. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Let me just see if my brother wants to come on the air. He may or may not. Hold on a second. I don't want to put him on the spot, but I know he's been following us pretty close. He may have some things to say before we get some more information here. Hold on. Let me just see. He may have something to say here, and I just want to see what he thinks about what we're seeing right now, because there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about with this. Hold on a second. Yeah. Hey, buddy, I'm on the air right now. I'm not putting you on the spot. Just want to see. We have results in. I just want to see if you had any commentary. You want to chop it up for about 15, 20 minutes.
I don't have that much right now. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, like Pennsylvania and a couple other places.
We do not have polls that are closed right now. There's certainly early results here. I've been going on for about an hour right here. Here's what I would say, and you can comment. I can hit you back. You can hit me back. Here's my take on it. I'll put you up to the mic so people can hear. I think it's early. What we're seeing right now, my biggest take is this. Florida used to be a purple state. It is now solidly red. You have DeSantis that won by percentage, not even a percentage point, like it's like 0.3% or something like that in 2018. He has just won by over 17 points. I mean, that is a massive blowout. And if you look at now what I've been weaving here, if you look at, to me, that is a clear, and Rubio, very similar fashion. I mean, they're both of them won almost every single county, including down south. I mean, you had DeSantis winning 2 out of 3 of Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami. You had Rubio winning, Miami-Dade. I mean, and almost every other county except for like Orlando and Leon and et cetera. And so to me, what that means is a clear vote of confidence to the current policies. And I would even dare say, the Trump-like policies of Governor DeSantis. And just, I mean, Charlie Crist was someone that was very, very known. So to me, that is both a 2024 story. It's both a referendum. It's also a referendum on the policies of DeSantis and what he has done. And it also is kind of a punk out to the Nikki Haley, the Mayor Suarez, the Jeb Bush style of republicanism. That is just not viable anymore in the state. And I don't think even nationally. The second point I was making is, I was making 3 main points. The second point is, like, look, globally, certainly here, at some point, the leadership, you have to represent the people. There has to be a connection between what the people want and actual policies. Maybe not every single time, but there has to be, over a 5, 10, 2, year period, there has to be some connection. And when people feel like they're not being represented, or they're being, they don't feel like they're getting a fair shake, or they have to be concerned about, can I heat my home? Do I have gas to put in the car? Or how expensive is things? What's happening in the school? Those are all real issues that people just can't ignore anymore. And I would think that the third point I made real quick is the point that I've been making about the Miami tech scene and the miss on Suarez, and I don't want to focus on that too much. I think they did some great things and give them the props and the kudos on that, but it all comes full circle. And here's what I mean, because here now we're seeing the political consequences, because he's not, it wasn't just that he was involved in the tech movement. He's actually a political figure that people have talked about. And I think his team has talked about in terms of national potential national viability. But if you look at what Elon Musk has done with Twitter, it just in a week, and what Governor DeSantis has done with this state, you saw right there in those 2 examples the potential that South Florida had to do a tech movement that was dramatically different than what was done or what has been done. And you see exactly how hard left a lot of these tech companies have gone, and it could have been different down here. And I think that Suarez, in my opinion, didn't show the courage or the foresight to try that move, whereas DeSantis did, and DeSantis has been rewarded dramatically by the voters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think DeSantis won Miami-Dade, and so, I mean, that just shows you exactly what you just said. There was a lot of potential to do stuff that was a little bit more neutral, centrist, rather than more left-wing, and I think, as you said, I think Suarez kind of more played to those tech entities that were coming more from the left-wing perspective. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, as we saw tonight, there was an appetite for more central leaning stuff.
Yeah, it was almost, to me, it was almost like it was a good job of selling, in my opinion, not alleging anything, in my opinion, it was a good job of selling Miami and to some extent selling Florida. And it was definitely a great PR campaign, but it was almost like, yeah, well, we don't, it doesn't matter if you're censoring concern. It doesn't matter. Like there was no discussion of that, right? Of any of that. It was just come on over here. It was almost a sellout move. Whereas you look at what Governor DeSantis has done with tech and social media, or even like, the Disney issue, or a whole host of issues. And, if people thought that, oh, well, Florida's a purple state. I mean, the thing of it is if you look at the here's the thing, you look at the registration. This is the message I'm trying to tell you. It's not just the Republicans. Either Republicans came out in insane numbers, and we'll find out later, but either Republicans came out in insane numbers for DeSantis and Democrats stayed home, or guess what? Democrats also voted for DeSantis. That's what shows you the stakes of this election. That's what shows you where people are at policy-wise with DeSantis and with the current Democratic Party. And that is the huge missed opportunity. If Suarez would have went into that, and I think would have been more inclusive instead of the little tight, 305 circle there, whatever like that, or his insider recruits. I think he's getting bad political advice, in my opinion. He could have been a superstar, but instead went against DeSantis, went against Trump, missed this opportunity, didn't challenge big tech on being more inclusive and more welcoming for conservatives the way Elon Musk has. Elon Musk has billions on the line to try to fight for this free speech issue. Mayor Suarez didn't have any of that and still didn't take it. That just shows you the disparity, the courage gap, all right, if you will, political courage wise. That is a huge missed opportunity. I don't want to focus too much on that, but these results, either tremendous, massive, insane levels of Republican turnout and Democrats staying home, or Democrats voted for Rubio and Democrats voted for DeSantis. That's what I'm trying to say, Paul.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think that, it's certainly been proven out that DeSantis' way of handling things works. And I know that Mayor Suarez wasn't a big supporter of DeSantis, and, kind of see how things have turned.
But it's still an early night. We still have to see what happens here. Now, it looks like, according to Real Clear Politics here, Massachusetts, it looks like Dems picked up in Massachusetts on the governorship right there. So that's going to be interesting. And we're still very early. You're in Pennsylvania right now. I got something early from in the chat thing. Someone asked, do you think Fetterman should have stepped down or should they have gotten a replacement? I addressed that for a little bit. That was a hot question. Do you have any? I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know if I even necessarily want to revisit this aspect, but you know what? Let me spin it a different way. You there on the ground in Pennsylvania, what has it been like this last couple days or week or so with that race?
There's been a big push for Fetterman, big ag dumps, and of course the Obama and Biden coming to do campaign stump for him. Now early on, it looks like there's been a lot of vote dump for Fetterman. So earlier today also is looking good. Now Fetterman looks stronger, but it's been really a toss up. That's how I felt about it. I thought Mastriano was running for governor for GOP. I thought there was more of kind of a hidden vote for him. I don't know where that's at right now. I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but right now, I guess Fetterman's looking pretty good. But we have to see as the counting goes on.
It's early. That's what I'm saying. We're coming up here in about 9 minutes. We're going to see some more results. This is going to be very, very interesting. It's a lot to be said here. And now we're also seeing in Georgia, it looks like Kemp is having a relatively comfortable lead, I would say, on Stacey Abrams. I think we're seeing that. We're seeing Kemp now. 45% of the vote in now. And these are new results, Politico. You have Kemp 52.7 versus Stacey Abrams 46.7. So now you're talking about a 6% gap. It's very significant. If you're talking about raw votes there, I'm just trying to it's almost 200,000 a vote difference, Paul, and that's very significant.
Yeah, I think there's no question that Kemp is going to be the winner tonight. The question is he going to get over 50% to avoid a runoff? In Georgia, you have to win 50% or more. And it looks like right now the answer is yes. And so, if you're a GOP person, that's what you're looking for.
Do you think that, how big of okay, so I gave my predictions. I think that we're going to see 30 to 50 seats on the House for the Republicans. I'm pretty decently confident that I think we're going to see 35 plus. But I haven't dived into all the House races, so I'll caution myself on that, just in terms of just where I'm seeing the polls and the trends and just sort of some of those types of things. On the Senate side, I think we're seeing 52 to 54 for the Republicans. If I have to be pressed, I would go as, if it's just a single number, 53. Yeah, it's close. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go that far yet. And on the governorships, I feel good about the government. But so many of these races are so close. How big how big do you think what do you think we're gonna see here?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of flux going on right
It's
now.
a lot of flux.
We just got to, there's definitely some bellwethers that look pretty good. There's a, hotly contested race. I think it's Virginia 10 that, should be more favoring the Democrats, but it's not. I think that's Spengberger versus Hung Cow.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not right. I can't remember who the other guy is, but there's definitely good signs for Republicans. But then again, there's been some resistance, like in Pennsylvania and stuff with the Senate, and also we're just going to have to see. I mean, it's certainly a Republican night in the House. I don't think there's any question about that. We're going to have to see how the Senate shakes out in a couple of these governorships.
I think my point of that is, let's say it's a moderately to significantly. I mean, if obviously it's a total blowout, that's one thing. But if it's moderately to significantly successful Republican night, right? Let's say they win 20 seats in the House. They control the Senate by 151. What message do you think? Well, I guess maybe let me put it another way. Before we know more, what message do you think this election is going to send tonight in terms of discourse, in terms of policy, in terms of candidates, etc.?
I think it's people want to come back to the middle. They're not buying into any of these different narratives being pushed out there by the media and by the left, and they just kind of want to calm everything down and let's work together and move forward.
Yeah,
Just
right.
get away from nonsense.
Right. I think that's right. I think people are tired of the hyper partisanship. I think people are tired of it. Shouldn't matter who you vote for. You know what I'm saying? Like everything shouldn't be whoever. Let me put it another way. Who you vote for or which side you support shouldn't determine everything in your life. Who you can, who's going to be your friend and where you can work and where your kids can go to school and all where you can go to school. I mean, it's too crazy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You're going to get debanked. I mean,
are you going to get debanked?
Yeah, people are tired of that, and people are done with that.
Oh, and that's another thing with the missed opportunity with Miami again. Not to come back to that, but it's like a lot of the move with DeFi was for freedom and autonomy. It's like it just didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. But I mean, in the end, anyway, don't get me. I've said what I need to say on. I don't want to move on that, but I like to be positive. There's a lot of positive things that happened there, and well, hopefully, and got people excited, and hopefully they'll be very successful. So good luck to them. But I mean, at the same time, that goes back to the whole thing. Leaders have to be responsive to their constituents. They have to represent people. Okay, you can't just all be about the big money and the big donors and all that. We're about 4 minutes away from more polls closing. Real Clear Politics say that the Republicans are up 5 in the House. They have lost one governorship. It looks like that's in Massachusetts. Senate, very, very close right there. There's so many things going on here. This is really crazy. We got a lot of polls closing here at 9 o'clock, Paul. It's going to be very interesting. Michigan. I mean, what do you think about Michigan? I mean, you had Governor Whitmer was definitely out there, I think floated with some national discussion there, but she's in a very close election up there in Michigan. What do you think of that?
Yeah, look, it's hopefully, it's surprising because I know people that are from Michigan who think, Whitmer's really, really strong, and maybe, we have to see what the margins ends up being tonight. But, Tudor Dixon's done a good job, and I think that, she's come on strong at the end.
Yeah. Now, right now, it looks like Whitmer's up significantly, but you just don't know where that. I haven't looked at that specifically, so I don't know where the count is on that. Let me see if I can. Only 7% of the vote in, so that's just so early on that. Let me see if I can dive into this. Just super early on this. You've got some numbers out of Detroit, and who knows? We're so early on that. That's what I'm saying. There's just so much. We don't know. That's why it's fun. That's why I want to take your comments and your predictions. Hey, if you're listening right now, what are your predictions? We're 2 minutes away from some things closing. Where do you think this is gonna land over here? And then look, everybody's welcome here. Let's have a discussion. If you're, if you're a Democrat, if you're a liberal, you want to see, Mayor Swartz, whoever, it doesn't matter. Let's, what's your prediction? How many seats in the House? Who's going to control the House? Who's going to control the Senate? What's going to happen to the governorship? What do you think about Florida? To me, Paul, that is the two biggest stories. There could be more, but the two early big stories are Florida and New York. Florida's already there with how powerful a message is. And now I think the state becomes an absolute beacon. I think in many ways, Paul, I'm going to call it, that Florida becomes sort of the capital of the Republican Party, if you will, even surpassing Texas. I really believe that. I mean, would you agree with that? Or do you think that's too strong a statement?
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I think it's become like a red haven, and it's just going to get stronger with DeSantis there. So yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay, the second big story I think that we're going to see play out here, very very soon here, I think within minutes, is the New York story. If Governor Hochul loses, right? I mean, to Lee Zeldin, I mean, wow. I mean, that would be massive. Massive.
Yeah, that'd be gigantic. No question about it. That would be devastating for the left. There's no doubt about it.
Right. So, I mean, that would just be devastating. So, I mean, I think those are two huge stories right there that we have to really, we have to really see. And here's the thing. Right here, voters feel about how the U.S. This is exactly what I was talking about. Fox News poll, voter analysis, a national feelings about how the U.S. government is working. Enthusiastic, satisfied, 25%. Dissatisfied, 75%. That's like right track, wrong track. I mean, that is insane. That's what I'm saying. People are just not. Yeah, people are just not into it. I mean, it's not going to work.
No, that's exactly right. This type of number is going to have you have a bad night.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think that's very interesting. Okay, polls is closed here at 9:00. We should see some more information, some more action. Let's see here. And again, a lot of this is going to play out overnight, going to play out longer. We'll have to see what happens. But I'm very, very curious about this whole New York situation. Extremely curious about that, because I think that is polls just closed. New York, I mean, we have a lot of stuff. Okay. It probably is going to be a little bit, to get in here, right? But I mean, that is a big race, and I think that, Zeldin, I mean, really kind of pinned down Hochul in that debate about on the safety issue. That was a big deal, and I don't think there's a good. I mean, and this is what I'm trying to talk about. There's been a lot of issues, a range of issues where I think the Republicans were able to successfully frame the Democrats as out of touch, as not caring about, maybe being insulated or not caring about people's concerns, and for everyday people, whether that's inflation or, I mean, there's a whole range of issues. And it almost reminded me of when the media went after George Bush Sr. with the whole checkout scanner. Remember that thing, Paul?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that.
Right. And it was like that across a range of issues. And again, when people are suffering and people feel like you don't understand or maybe care, that's not a good look.
Yeah, that just doesn't work. Now, I know people say, like, oh, defend democracy. Okay, that's fine. But if I can't, pay for food, and my gas, I can't think about anything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, very, 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 very early numbers. You have Hochul up big right now, but I mean, 7% in, it's it's basically 75-25, but that's super early right there. Michigan 10-point race, early numbers. I mean, a lot of these things it's going to take time to wind up big.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, some of these are going to be closer than what you would expect them to be.
Yes.
I think the House is going to be a clear win, but it comes down to the Senate in a couple races and a couple governor races, like maybe in Arizona, it's going to be closer. We're just going to have to, it's honest, a lot of it's going to be waiting and see.
Georgia race looks like it's a little closer. It looks like it's about just under a 2.5 point race, 2.4% race. Still significant. You're looking about 62,000 votes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Abbott, I mean, yeah, Abbott's about 6 points up on O'Rourke there in Texas. Again, the idea that Texas is going blue, not happening.
No way.
That's not happening. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be very, very interesting. Maine, LePage. Okay, LePage wins. It's super early there, super early. Sununu is definitely up there against Sherman. Vermont, Scott has won there. Let's see here. Let's go to the Senate. I'm just going, looking at all kinds of stuff here. There's a lot of we're chopping it up here. It's getting very interesting. I mean, this is it. I mean, the next couple hours, we're going to find out a lot. Now, I don't know if we're going to know everything tonight. I mean, do you think, well, that's another question. Do you think that we'll have, clarity tonight? Yeah. I mean, will we go to bed knowing basically who's in control of the Congress?
I don't know. I mean, we should know who's in control of the House. I think.
Yes.
The Senate, I'm not sure because I don't know if we'll have enough in Pennsylvania. I don't know if we'll have everything from Arizona. Georgia might be going to a runoff. So I'm not sure we'll know about that.
No, it's crazy, right? It's so crazy right here. Okay, in Georgia, Warnock is up significantly right now. And that's interesting. You see the difference between the results with Kemp and Abrams versus Warnock and Walker. Those results are almost inverted. So we'll see. There's people that thought that Walker was stretching it, was walking away from it. I don't know. I mean, that's very, very interesting. Now, Fetterman and Oz, okay, so Oz is closing in. Again, only 11% of the votes there. We've got some early votes in. And some of this might just be some of the early votes that were there and how some of these races broke, right? So if you believe the theory, so this is where it gets interesting, right? If you believe the theory that Walker was closing and maybe even up, then what you're seeing is these early votes. And this is why, if you're going to have early voting, I think you got to have early debates, right? And I'm not making an argument for when people, how all that type of stuff. That's a whole nother topic and analysis and whatever. But I think that it's unfair to the voters to be able to have voting without them having seen a debate or having a lot of candidate interviews or access to the candidates. Like people have to know what they're voting on, right?
Yeah,
so
I totally agree.
They got to know what they're voting on. So it's like you got to let people know what they're voting on, and having voting for like a month or so, and then a debate like a week or two before election day. I don't think that's appropriate. I think it could be done better, right? I don't think that's quite as fair to the voters, in my opinion. So anyway, the point of that is if it was sort of, there was a Dem surge earlier, let me put it that way. If there was a late Republican surge such that the Georgia Senate race is going to be close, then I think the governor race is going to be, kind of a blowout for Kemp.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's getting closer, but definitely I think it's more that I think in some ways, relatively speaking, Warnock's a better candidate than Stacey Abrams. And I mean, obviously, I think that's apparently what Georgians think.
So let's talk about this. I mean, what do you think happened? They've tried to run Stacey Abrams before. There's been all kinds of talk about her on the national stage. I mean, what do you think happens with Abrams? If Abrams loses this, what do you think happens Abrams' political career? I mean, does she run for governor again? Does she try to do Congress? Does she does that stall her on the national stage, or did they say, hey, you know what? I mean, there's such a lack of a bench nationally for Democrats, and this just raised her name ID anyway and got her familiar with voters and donors, and you think that would you predict that you would see her run for president in 2024?
I don't know if she'll be able to do it in 2024. I think that's too soon. I'm not sure she's going to totally leave the stage. In fact, I've seen articles basically saying, hey, she's got a national infrastructure now, and she's got donors, and so I don't know. I don't think she'll be able to credibly run in 2024 after losing again right now. I think you need to have at least more time, or you have to, jettison up from a win. And I don't think she'll be the person in 2024, but I'm not sure she's going to be totally out of the stage, even though she's lost twice. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So interesting. So many things here. And I think Clay and Buck were talking about that. I think Clay Travis was saying about it, or actually, no, sorry, excuse me. I think Sean Hannity was mentioning this. It could be 100,000 votes total that separates a lot of these races. And a lot of times that's sort of the case, right? Like, 50,000, 70,000, because some of these things are so close, but I don't know if it's going to be this close. I think there's a lot of interesting stories here. So, okay, Warnock versus, when you have a Libertarian Party candidate in there too, that's taking 1.8% of the vote, which is very interesting in Georgia, as opposed to what happened late there in Arizona, where the Libertarian dropped out and endorsed the Republican there, Kelly Masters. So there's just so many interesting subtext there. But I mean, right now Warnock's up a good over 100,000 votes in Georgia. That's very significant there. Now okay, Bud has taken the lead there in North Carolina.
Yeah,
with about 60% of the vote in there. But okay, so here's it very interesting. So in Ohio, this actually might give us some insight. Ryan is with 39% of the vote in. Ryan is leading Vance, but everyone was, a lot of people were predicting that Vance was up big there. So that kind of tells me the early vote thing, which again, the criticism on the Republican side is, hey, with all this stuff with the early voting, that voters don't get a chance for the debates and all the things we already talked about. And even, the arc of the campaign and the storylines of a campaign to really sort of play out, if you will, and for voters to maybe have the full picture before they vote. And so, in other words, the idea there of the Republican side is that early voting may be favoring the Democrats. So to the extent that now that we're seeing, or that the red wave was sort of the momentum, Republican momentum broke late, which definitely seems, if you believe the polls, seem to happen that way. So if we're seeing these early votes that are if the early votes are being tabulated, first, that would seem to sync up with what we're seeing in Ohio and Georgia in respect to Vance and maybe even Walker. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's this is the stuff that's coming in first is urban centers and early vote drops, and particularly it's early vote drops. So then it's like everything's playing catch up mode for the GOP, but that doesn't mean they won't do it. It just looks like that early on. So yeah, for sure.
Very interesting. Okay, so based upon what you're seeing right now, how are you feeling about where we are at in terms of some of these results?
Look, some of it's just going to take more time. I still would imagine that J.D. Vance is going to win in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Oz doesn't win in Pennsylvania. I felt decent about that earlier.
Now, according to Fox, it's a 2-point race in Ohio. Vance 49, Ryan 51.
Okay, yeah, I would imagine that the vote as it keeps coming in is going to help J.D. Vance. That would be my guess. So I would imagine he's going to win. But, PA might go the other way, and that's a little bit of an outlier because usually the rural vote would go more Republican, but because of the campaign, Fetterman has run, which is almost like a populism from the left, he might get more of that vote. So that could be an outlier. So it's the overall picture here is the GOP is going to win the House. I don't think that's a doubt. But The Senate control might come down to a couple of these races, like Pennsylvania, like Georgia, like Arizona. We're just not quite sure yet. And we're just going to have to see how it plays out, really.
Now, here's something also interesting as well, in my opinion, is that you see, like, a lot of these states, it's taking them time to tabulate. There's some slow counting. I know there's been, I believe, if I remember correctly, there's been efforts to upgrade the election counting speed system, whatever you want to call it, in Florida. And I can tell you that 85% of the vote has been tabulated in Florida already, which is amazing, and a very, very big popular state.
Yeah.
You know what? So the point is that even though Florida is a big state, and with two time zones, you've got 85% of the vote already tabulated in Florida, which is huge.
Yeah, look, it's Florida shows, just like France did, you can count a bunch of votes on election night if you really want to do it. And so it's, that's how it should be done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody seriously doesn't think that. I mean, you just ask an average person, would you rather have everything counted on election night? Would you let it go off, a week after? Well, most people would say counted on election night. So it's definitely frustrating.
Well, when we have supercomputers and, big data and all these types and real time, feedback and communication, there's got to be a little bit more. It shouldn't take it shouldn't take weeks or even days to know, what the result is. We should be able to know in the vast majority of cases on election night who won a race, in my opinion.
I completely agree, and I think most people would agree with that. So,
absolutely. So we've got. So again, it's just showing the Florida, what's going on in Florida, and how well again, the Florida model, basically, if you will, the Florida model is really on display here, and I think that's huge credit to Governor DeSantis and his administration. And I think it's Florida is changing. Florida has changed dramatically. It's a different state politically.
It totally is. And look, the Florida is so good at counting because of what happened in 2000. Because of 2000 and Bush versus Gore, they realized we can't do this anymore. And they've been working at it, and that's why it's so good. Mm-hmm. And if other states would do the same thing, wouldn't have this problem.
No, absolutely. And you're seeing right here, the Vance race is getting closer. We're seeing that right now. That is tightening up. So it's what we expected in terms of that. It's starting to get interesting. Walker Warnock. I mean, that is a 4-point race. That's going to be interesting to see how that goes out. Okay, now according to According to Real Clear Politics, Vance is up in Ohio, 50.3 versus 49.7. So Ryan had that early lead, and that has seemed to evaporate.
I think that's a good chance that race is going to keep going Vance's way.
Absolutely. Bennett versus O'Day in Colorado, not close at all yet. Only 31% of the vote counted there, but that's not, people talk about that. That race does not look close at this point. North Carolina. So it's like I said, it's getting very, very interesting here. Governors, we're not seeing that. Mastriano. I mean, we're early. Zeldin early. So look, we'll have to see. This is very, very interesting right now. But I don't think you can say anything very definitive yet. Probably a little early on this, other than what Vari said about Florida. I think the Florida story is a massive early story. I think that is a story of the night on many different levels in terms of where the state is, the success of Governor DeSantis, and also being able to count the votes quickly, et cetera, et cetera. I think it just says, okay, now we're seeing a little back and forth in Ohio, but we're going to see how this goes. It looked very interesting Very interesting right here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Anything else that we can? I mean, we're probably going to be watching this one for a while. And I'm going to probably stay with this for a little bit. I don't know that like I said, I don't know how long I'm going to broadcast here. I can't stay up all night and broadcast. I got to spend time with the family.
It's going to take a long time for this stuff to
It really is. It really is. It really is. And Kemp is up. So, I mean, I think that's kind of what I would say at this point. The Florida story is a huge, huge story. And I think, I would say Stacey Abrams and Beto O'Rourke were touted as big future stars, the Democratic Party. And I think there's big question marks there at this point.
No question.
I think there's big question marks there.
The Democrats bench does not look strong. That's the best thing Democrats have going for them is like to get out the vote, the mail-in vote, and all stuff. The actual candidates right now don't look that good. I mean, the poster that I follow closely on Twitter, Rich Barris, is very good. It's like, look, the person polling best right now against Trump is still Biden. So, you can talk about other people and replacing him. I don't know who you're going to get.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and here's the thing. I mean, right. And it's not just the candidates, it's the policies. I mean, they have to deal with these policies, right? I mean, they've been like someone else was saying, I mean, the policies of the Democratic Party now on so many issues are very, very extreme. It's like, and the thing is, there's been this, I don't know, this push, like, if you don't, if you don't agree with us, we're going to punish you kind of in some way, shape or fashion. Right. And from content, whatever it is, you can be, shadow banned or debanked or who knows, or whatever. And it's like, I just don't feel like, I think that as a brand, talking about branding, that as a brand, the Democratic brand. I mean, what does that brand stand for now? How overall appealing is that brand to a voter? To your typical voter, how appealing is that brand? You may agree on different issues, but when you look at that brand in total, how appealing is that brand? And look, that's some of the knock on some people try to make on Trump that, he's, he says this or that, or he's too extreme or whatever, but if you look beyond the personality, sometimes a lot of times, is it a referendum, or is it about the policies and the results, or is it about personalities? And if you look beyond the personalities, just in terms of taking the personalities out of course, candidates have to run races, but taking the personalities out of it, where are the parties at as brands on policy? And on brands on policy, I just think that the Democrats have significant issues, Paul.
I totally agree. I think they completely do. I think they're trying to pull people kind of towards the left more. And a lot of people don't want to keep going more and more and more to the left. Like they've gone about as far as they want to go. And I totally agree with you. I agree with that.
Right. And I also think that we're seeing, we've always had what am I trying to say? A federalist system here in terms of the states and the federal government, and you have this as some people say, the laboratory of the states, the different governments within an overall government, right? And I think that you're seeing, what I'm trying to say is, you're seeing some dramatically different forms of or ways of governing in these various states. And I think you're seeing dramatic movements between states, maybe more than we've seen in a long time, right? And I think that that may be accelerated. And that's what's so important, I think, about this Governor Hochul Lee Zeldin race is where's New York going to be on this? I think we've seen more people exit. Now, of course, it's the number one population center, but I think we've seen more people exit New York than any other state. I mean, does that continue? Does New York lose some status, some prestige as a real estate, financial, media, advertising, capital, or with people, with companies leaving. There's so many companies leaving, or does it look like new leadership is in there and things reverse? So it's interesting. I think we're seeing a lot of business people are saying, hey, I don't want to be in California anymore. Hey, I don't want to be in Illinois anymore. Washington, New York. And I think we're going to we either see, if the results are so, dramatic that New York goes to Republicans and Governor Hochul loses, then maybe you see some moderating or mitigating effect on that. On the other hand, if we see the blue states remaining the way they are, to keeping on the course that they are, and you're seeing Florida and other states, making this shift, and then I think you could see even more movement. So it's, and again, but I don't know. I mean, I think some of that is as intended, but I think some of that is, we all have to work together and stuff like that. Like you've seen, different situations where companies like, hey, we're going to boycott this state or that state. I mean, I just don't think how do you, I don't think that's the way to operate in a country, right? I mean, I think that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think you just can't do stuff like that. It's just not viable.
So it goes back to what we were talking about again, which is, this is still early stages here. We don't know. And I might write it down here just because, I think this is
going to take a long time.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time. But I wanted to kind of weigh in, and we're seeing some early results. But I would say this is that I really think that where we're going to end up, I think it's going to be a significant Republican win. It could be a dramatic Republican win. I think we're seeing the massive story out of Florida. I think we're seeing some science and some other things pointing the same way, but we'll see. It could be very interesting, but I think that we're going to be in a spot where, if I'm correct, that people just want to kind of get away from the hyper-partisanship. People want to get away from everything being politics. People just want to see some kind of a de-escalation of this, again, partisanship and politics, where politics just overwhelms everything. People just don't want to people just want to be able to live their lives and be left alone to a large extent. So would you agree with that, Paul?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, that's what people want, and it's been getting away from that for a while, and people just don't want it anymore. Yeah, I agree.
Right. And we had this thing where politicians were like, the celebritization, if you will, or politicians as celebrities. It's like, again, that's when everything is about politics. It's just, I think it becomes like contentious, hyper-partisanship, and kind of in some ways, kind of a miserable situation people don't want to deal with. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. We're seeing some different movement back and forth. I think it's still early. We have a long ways to go. But I think at this point, it's from my own work skills, I'm going to wind it down here. I've been on the air for almost over an hour and a half, so that's pretty fair enough. But look, we'll see. What are your comments? I'll try to follow comments. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm wrong. I think we may not know till tomorrow. We'll certainly know. Hopefully we'll know more in a few hours, and we'll see where we're at. But I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say out there. And I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. But there's certainly storylines along the route of a lot of things I've been talking about last couple of years in terms of where Florida is at, 2024 for Republicans, 2024 for the Democrats. Hopefully a departisanship of business. Different up and coming stars in the Republican Party, and just policies and things like that. So we'll see. And the Elon Musk thing, I think the Elon Musk thing is huge, and I think that's going to have major impact. So that's kind of where I'm at. Love to hear your comments on that. And what do you any closing remarks you have, Paul, or predictions?
Yeah, look, it's going to be very interesting to see how it all ends up. I do think it's going to take a while to get everything sorted out. But it's okay. It's like you said, I think this is the beginning of the end of the super hyper-partisan era, although I'm sure 2024 will have plenty as well. But we just need to start moving away from that. I think that's what a lot of people think, and I think that's beginning tonight.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, with that, I'll wind it down just so I can enjoy the rest of my birthday here. Maybe get some rest. I got to work early tomorrow. And watch the results like those of you at home and try to answer some comments. So, all right, cool. I will see everybody later. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later.